Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other and to learn from a different presenter each week. Our presenter this morning would have been Allison, but she is so sick. She notified me last minute saying that she had temperature and all that. Sounds like she has COVID, but she's not sure. So I told Allison because she was worried about it. I said, no, you take care of yourself, get well soon. In the meantime, we have to pivot. So I contacted LaSchelle. We went through the same life coaching certification program through Mary Morrissey. And so she's so generous. I'm so grateful for her. She's stepping in for Allison, who is not able to make it this morning. So the topic will be different. So she had to work until really late last night, but she's willing to do this for us. So LaSchelle, thank you so much for doing this. Welcome everyone again, including Marla. Haven't seen you in ages. And Faith, thank you for coming, all of you. Her topic this morning is harmonize your soundtrack and self-talk. That's and the description is learn how to improve your self-talk and mindset by fine-tuning your inner voice and playlist. Get ready to revamp your self-talk and tune up your inner voice playlist. Find out how to spot those pesky negative thoughts and replace them with uplifting and motivational sound bites. Let's set the stage for a killer self-dialogue that it will keep you crushing goals. That sounds awesome. Again, thank you, LaSchelle. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you can start the presentation. Thank you again, and
Okay.
good morning, Amy. So
Thank
go
you
ahead.
so much. It's so
Yes.
funny. I met Rini about probably a couple of months ago, and then she reached out a couple of weeks ago. And so last night she's like, "Can you step in?" And I'm all, "Okay." So this was my third presentation that I started working on because I kept thinking, what do these ladies need and what do I need? And I realized this morning it was what do I need? So I'm LaSchelle Lowe. I'm a transformational life coach. I'm an author, and I am also a podcaster. And I did a pivot about 3 years ago, actually about 4 years ago. And I am a inactive CPA, but it never lit me up. And so I decided 6 years ago, when I finally said yes to myself and my dreams, I started having all sorts of things. And I thought, I want to help other women experience this, because so many times I was finding I kept saying yes to everyone else and I never said yes to myself. And so I want to inspire and empower women to say yes to themselves and their dreams and live their best life now. And so I've been on this circuitous route and doing all sorts of things. And so it's been interesting, the things for me God has been putting in my way. And I made a deal with him back in 2019 that if there was something I was supposed to do, he needed to make it sparkly and something that would grab my attention, magnetic. And so I've had a lot of really interesting different certifications that I've done and programs that I've stepped into that have nothing to do with being a CPA. So anyway, I am going to start. And a couple of years ago, I was standing in a grocery store and I heard this little boy ask, "Mom, can I have this?" And the mom just flew off the handle. And I was on my phone just scrolling through text and stuff. She flew off the handle. She said, "No, you can't have that." And she slammed it. She grabbed him by the arm really hard. And I thought, holy cow. And then she's like, "You're so stupid. We don't have the money for this. I can't believe you're asking for this again." And just like went off. And I was just sick. And I wanted to be like, "Do you realize you're talking to this little boy? What are you doing to him?" So as I drove off later, I actually started thinking about it because it made me really upset. And then I thought, LaSchelle, you do that to yourself. You're talking to yourself like that, just like that lady. And I don't know how many of you guys have ever had self-talk that is so nasty that if your best friend heard what was going on in your inner dialogue, they'd slap you up the side of the head and take you, somewhere and be like, what are you doing? That is my best friend. You cannot treat this person like that. And unfortunately, we do this to ourselves. And so I actually based this on a book. It's called Soundtracks by John Acuff. And I would highly recommend it to any one of you. So let me just make sure that this is going. My computer turned off during my nap, and some of it's here and some of it's not. So
LaSchelle, I'm going to interrupt you for a minute.
Yeah.
Amy, and those of you who come in late, I just want to let you know that Allison is not feeling well. So LaSchelle had stepped in to, we were pivoting by basically, so the topic is no longer time management. It's about self-talk. So go ahead, LaSchelle.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to start presenting. And here we go. It's interesting. It's not letting me do the optimize for video. See what happens with that. Are you guys seeing that?
We can see it, but we can't hear the sound. Do I need to adjust my setting?
There's no sound right now.
Oh, okay.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. There's no video on right now.
Video.
I'm trying to, I will have a video later, but we'll see what happens when we get there. So anyways, so I wanted to start because we all have this, what I was gonna call it, like, let's take out the trash out of our trash talk. But I thought Harmonize was a lot more positive thing. So we all have, I just want to remind you that every single one of us has thoughts, and it's debated between 5,600 and 72,000 thoughts a day. So it's a lot of thoughts because our subconscious is in the background running programs all day long, just like our computer. Most of us couldn't go in and fix our computer. Likewise, our brains are doing the same thing to us. And we've been programmed by all the experiences that we've ever had. So because we're business owners, I wanted just to remind you about how we get our results. So our results are a product of our thoughts, which our products actually create our feelings. Our feelings create our actions, and our actions create our results. So if you look at what your results are and you're not really liking them, there's probably something in one of these different areas that is causing them to go off the rail. And unfortunately, results don't ever lie. It's kind of like in a chemistry test. If you put a certain chemical with another chemical, you're going to have a reaction. And it's the same thing with our results formula. It's our thoughts create our feelings create our actions create our results. And then I just wanted to remind you that our thoughts, where do they come from? Well, whatever we put our attention on. And so it's interesting if you think about being around people who are negative. Like there's certain people, like I have a certain friend that I can only deal with them for about half an hour. Otherwise I'm like tapped out because they're so negative. It just affects me. So what we put our attention on, or what we allow to influence us, is what actually creates our thoughts. So we've got to be really careful about what we listen to, who we're around, what programs we're watching, what books we're reading, what music we're listening to. And all of that stuff is programming us and putting things into our little thought patterns that we, unless we're conscious about it, can actually really impact us negatively. So we get to choose which way we're going to be. And unfortunately, our amygdala, which is part of our brain, is kind of patterned sort of towards the negative, because when our ancestors were back trying to survive, they had to have this fight, flight, freeze, and go into the sympathetic nervous system. And so a lot of our thoughts are in the negative, trying to ward off the bad stuff. So unfortunately, we're really good at going to the negative. And a lot of people don't really realize like words are really powerful. And I'm sure as a kid you heard the little saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, actually, that's not true. The words are so powerful that they can age you. There was a scientific experiment that was done at New York University, and they gave two different groups of students the same assignment to make sentences out of a collection of random words. And both groups proceeded to make sentences as they could, but there was something slightly different to the second group. In the second group, they were given words like bald, Florida, and wrinkle, and other words that kind of connoted being old. When the students were done putting their sentence groups together, they asked them to walk down the hallway to another classroom for another part. Well, the students thought that the test was putting the words together. That had nothing to do with it. It was actually the walk that was the important part. And as they walked down the hall, the scientists then measured how quickly they moved from one room to the other. And just by reading the words about the elderly, it caused a physical change. And the students who had been in that group with the old people words, they actually moved slower. And then another group of university students, they actually had people walk around a room, and they purposely told some of the students to walk just at their normal gait, and they told the other ones to walk slower. And when they measured it, then they went to this room, and they had to look at these words, and the ones who had been doing the slower ones, when they looked at the word puzzle, the words that they could see were the ones that were related to aging. So it actually works both ways. Like our actions can impact what we're seeing, but also what words we're using can impact how we are reacting. So it's really, really powerful, our words. So when you pick the soundtracks you listen to the most, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. And so John had 3 questions about your soundtracks. And the first one, it's funny because this is one I ask myself often. Is it true? So when you're hearing those pesky little voices or those good voices, is what your brain is saying, is that really true, or your subconscious? One of the greatest mistakes you can make in life is assuming that all of your thoughts are true. We tend to believe that if it's in our head, it must be accurate. And he told a story about this guy, Cody Skog, who was an amateur magician. And his goal was to do paid events. Yet his broken soundtrack was, you can't charge for your services because someone else might be better at doing magic. And at some level, this is absolutely true. But if Cody was just going to wait until he was the best one in the world, he would never be out there getting paid gigs. And so his stinking thinking was, until no one else in the world is better than me, I can't charge for an event. And I know some coaches are like that. Some people feel like that we are putting everyone else before. But guess what? We each have value, because I know for me, I've invested a lot of thousands of dollars. And I know I see many people here that have been in programs I've also invested in. And I know they've also spent tens of thousands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in investing in themselves. And so we don't necessarily have to wait until we're the best. So because of that, one of the things that he suggested was get a second opinion. When we go to the doctor and we get a diagnosis, we should be getting a second opinion. And sometimes we can actually ask others if what we're thinking is true. And so call your best friend, call somebody in this group, ask somebody, I'm having this thought, do you think this is true about me? And most often it's not. And it's funny because I've been having a conversation with a friend lately about truth. And it's interesting because a lot of people now use the words, oh, well, my truth is this. Well, to me, truth is truth. If you go look up the definition of in the dictionary, truth is truth. It's never changes. It's like solid. And so that now I'm like on this little thing where when people say my truth, it just makes me like, okay, what in here is not true, and what should I be really careful about? So anyways, that's just my thing. So go get a second opinion. And it was interesting. One of the things that he pointed out was he was working with these guys, and they were on this project, and they thought that they had to live by these rules and regulations, that this was constraining their work. And when one of the guys finally, after like weeks of kind of spinning their wheels, he went to the boss and he said, I just want to know if these rules and regulations are what we have to keep our work with. And he's like, no, you guys are the experts. There are no rules for the experts. We want you to be able to have like unlimited ability, because if something's wrong, we want you to fix it. Well, because of that, asking that one question, asking for the second opinion, finding out what the rules were, they're able to save $14 million. And so how many times are we playing by rules that don't really exist, or that we made up in our head that was some kind of an assumption? I mean, you know what they say about assumption, or assuming, or assume, I guess is the one. So anyways, the next question is it helpful? Like when you're listening to the soundtrack, is it helpful? Are you moving forward, or are you stuck in a rut? And I know sometimes we have those mind things where we just have the same loop over and over again, and it's not really serving us. And we're just making a big fat dirty mess like this tire right here. And we just keep putting gas on it. And no matter how hard we push the gas, we need something else to get out of it. So is your thought moving you forward, or is it keeping you stuck? Is it leading you to a decision, or is it limited of a decision? Or does it generate action, or does it generate apathy? So those are some questions you can ask about, is it helpful? The last one is it kind? And it's interesting because kind is one of my values. I can't stand, like that little boy that I talked about, can't stand when people are not kind. There's absolutely no reason to not be kind to other people. You can be angry with them, but you can still be kind. Sometimes it's hard, but you can still be kind. So kind is, like this says, kind of words cost nothing. And like I was saying before, when I was in the car and I was hearing, oh my gosh, LaSchelle, you're just like that lady. You say some of those mean things to yourself. So is the soundtrack you're listening to, are you being kind to yourself? And after you listen to it a few times, do you feel better about yourself? Or are you encouraged about your life and your opportunities? Because if you're not, you're probably not being kind. So mindful, John had done a lot of different, he pulled in a lot of different research. And this Dr. John Kobar-Zinn, he was actually one of the first people that studied mindfulness. And his meaning for mindfulness, because this is all over everywhere right now. Mindfulness to him means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And that non-judgmentally is so important. Because if your kind soundtracks are non-judgmental, the effects of the mindfulness practice include less stress, less pain, reduced anxiety, clearer skin, and a better immune function. Okay, who doesn't want that? If you do want that, put yes in the chat. Awesome. Oh, good. I was like, wait, nobody wants any of those. They don't want less stress, less pain, reduced anxiety, clearer skin, or a better immune system. I was like, oh, I need this. That's why it was probably what was going on. So he also talked about the Harvard physician Herbert Benson, who he did studies on the effects of mindfulness on cardiovascular health. And what he discovered was two things that had the greatest impact. The first one was repeating a phrase other than to say sound, another way to say sound, a soundtrack, like whatever the phrase was, delivering it to yourself for a set period of time. And so we're going to talk about that a little later. And then the second one is gently bringing yourself back to the phrase by saying, oh, well, whenever you get distracted and think about something else. that oh well is so important because it's the non-judgmental part of being kind to yourself to come back to refocus. And it's interesting because a number of people here, one of our mentors, she was talking about meditation, and she was talking about, and I had the hardest time when I was meditating at first because I was like had monkey brain all over the place. And I wish I'd known this, the oh well thing, because that would have been, but she would say, okay, stare at the candle, look at it, and focus on candle flame, candle flame, candle flame. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. A candle flame, candle. Is there lipstick on my teeth? Candle flame, all of that stuff. So this is actually a way that, oh well, just to be like, oh well, I'm just gonna go back and refocus on what it is I'm gonna say about myself, whatever my good track is. So resilience is allowing yourself to begin again when things don't go the way you expected the first time. And I know all of us, when we first started walking, we did not walk in a straight line. We first had to pull ourselves up, then we had to crawl along a couch, then we maybe had our parents hold our hand or our siblings. And even when we took our first steps, we, kept trying. Or the same thing with riding a bicycle. So we have a lot of oh wells in our life, or at least we should. So we're going to talk about broken soundtracks. So broken soundtracks are negative stories that you tell yourself about yourself and your world. And I'm going to ask you to think about what are some of your broken soundtracks. And I could not get my music to work this morning, so we're just going to have silence for a few minutes. So I want you to pull out a paper and write down some of your soundtracks. Okay. Does anyone have any that they would love to share?
I'll share. I'm not good at
Awesome.
sales. Marla,
Ooh.
we have Marla here. So I said, my thing in my head is I'm not good at sales. And then that thing, LaSchelle, you mentioned about not being able to charge, or I won't charge. If I do something for nonprofit or charity, I can charge, or I can try to sell that, or if it's fundraising. But if it's sale for my benefit, I cannot. So I'm not good at sale, and I cannot do it. That's my soundtrack.
We're gonna get you right, Rini.
What is it?
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you
I
turned
know.
around.
You're here, so I said that is my the worst thing in my head. And then I'm not good at public speaking. I cannot speak. So that was another one that I have in my
Okay.
head.
So Rini, I'm just going to ask you right now, are you speaking to me?
I am. It's just a
And are there
conversation.
more than one person in this room?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
But
you're public
that's what.
speaking. And are you nervous?
No, not really.
Yeah.
But
Oh, there you go. There you go. Look at that. I just helped you find something that wasn't true.
isn't that something? We all
Yep.
have to. I bet if we go around, you want to do that, LaSchelle, and let's just go around and see what everyone has this restriction. Omeka,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go this line up here.
Yeah, I was running to get a piece of paper. Negative, yeah. Just generally, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough in anything that I do. But that's not true because I like to cook. I'm okay, pretty good cook. I don't know. But come back to me. Soundtrack. It's good to think about. Yeah, I did get my paper.
That's very common, Omeka, by the way. That's very common. I feel that way too. Suzanne.
Okay, things I say to myself. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you think about that ahead of time? you can do it better next time. Try again. What's wrong with you? That's one of my,
Yeah,
and it's
I get
probably my
that.
mother from, way back, but I adopted it myself. No blame for real, but yeah.
Thank you for that, Omeka. Suzanne.
This will be no surprise, but up until I hit 51, found out I was autistic. Why can't I be equal to my brothers? Why can't I be equal? Why can't my mother see I'm equal?
Interesting. Thank you for that. Marla.
I've pretty much worked through all of them. I've had enough years. But I would say that I still get on myself about my organization. However, I'm a creative strategist, and I just don't mind this. This does great stuff in the push. In the last 24 hours, if I've been sitting on an idea for 30 days, then it'll all form up and I'm ready to go. So I live very spontaneously, and sometimes organization doesn't work with spontaneity. And so I'm okay with it, but it was nice to hear that I still have a running conversation. But I'm obviously the opposite of you when it comes to speaking or training, but I still have trepidations. I think we all do. We all have hesitations. And that's probably our perfectionist that wants to do something right. But you can't do anything right until you've practiced it, or to your sense of right. There is no right, but to your sense of rightness, then you've got to practice. So you have to take the risk.
It's very true. That's why we're meeting like this.
Yeah.
To remind ourselves, even when we learn, every time I go to a mastermind or something about this, the different topics, about the thoughts, about the results, everything. I've heard this before, but why am I not practicing it?
Yeah.
You're so right,
Right.
Marla. We
Yeah.
need to practice it. Otherwise, it's not useful.
Yeah. And just to make sure everybody knows that I'm not being flip, I'll be 75 in November. So I have worked through a lot of stuff.
Wow. That is congratulations. There's no way. We can't even tell. You look wonderful. Sue.
First of all, why? There's no way you're 75, but okay, that's another topic. You look amazing. For me, it's probably a lot of people, public speaking is, I can do it. Like, I know I can do it, but I always feel nervous before speaking. I mean, not chatting with a group of women on Thursday morning, but like standing in front of a big crowd. Usually I'm talking about my design business. So it's like, it's not just about my speaking, it's about how are they going to receive my design? Are they going to, there's a little bit of that childhood self-doubt that creeps in that I've worked on for years. I continue to work on it. It's certainly gotten a lot better, but there's work still to be done for sure.
Show it if you have all that doubts. You're wonderful. Sue did a presentation a couple of weeks ago. She did a great job. So, Amy.
Oh, good morning. I really spent a lot of time, especially in the last 5 years, getting in touch with that voice of doubt and criticism, and really not doing it. I spend a lot of time, and I spend a lot of time for myself and what I teach my clients with the mirror talk, and I don't usually spend a lot of time with that negative voice. The one place that I still get a little kick in the butt with it is in business things. Because there was always a voice that said, I can't do it, I'm not good at it, I won't be able to do it. And then when I opened up my company, I put that up. I always look back, and every time something is hard or I start to go down that road, I say, but wait, I have a business, I'm running a business, I'm building a business, it's all going. So so what I'm thinking is not true. It's not true. Like you said, is that true? No, it's not true. But I find myself stuck a little bit in more details of it, right? Not the larger picture, but the smaller details within there. And like I'm working on a marketing piece and I don't enjoy it. Okay, I don't enjoy it. This is not something I want to do, but I'm trying to change the language. So it's, instead of saying it's something that I can't do or I'm not good at doing, I'm trying to just say I'm choosing that I want to assign this to somebody else, right? And shifting it for myself. So I'm not using negative self-talk about me. So thank you for reminding me about that and keeping me on task, because it is so important today when I'm in the midst of doing this piece, this work.
Yeah, thank you. This is such a great topic, LaSchelle. We'll keep going here. Joey.
Hi.
Morning.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, just like Rini, there are times when I'm hesitant to charge, but not as often because we've done that before. I have charged for my talks, but I don't know. Sometimes with my other modules that I teach, I just end up offering my services for free because in my mind, I just wanted everyone to be able to know what I know, share my knowledge. So it's always like a charity case, probably because that's my nature, just to give and include everyone else. But I know that there's also an upside to that. You know, it's part of marketing, right? When you give your services for free, it's like promoting your shows, your talks, and also with my kids. I'm promoting my kids because we homeschool them, so they're doing public speaking. So I don't know. Sometimes I'm really hesitant to charge, especially for my It's Time energy. But you have seen that, it's like Tony Robbins. You know what you taught today, tonight. That's Tony Robbins' triad, and I know that. I mean, we can actually just get a topic and then explain it a different way for our specific audience, and the kids know that. And I really want to like charge for it, but I don't know. In here in the Philippines, I just wanted first for everyone to know what we know because we're so behind. This is a third world. So behind in love attraction, in whatever you know there in North America. So I just want to share that. So I don't know what's your name again? Sorry, LaSchelle. If that is something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it absolutely
you.
is. I understand, Joey. You just kind of want to give it away. You want everybody to be able to participate. So thank you for that share. It's very common. Tamara, I know you're at work. Can you talk?
I can. I it's interesting because I've connected with a number of you of what you've said already. And as I look at some of what I've written down, what keeps coming back is that I kind of always feel like I'm not enough. Like I'm not productive enough, I'm not knowledgeable enough, I'm not um I want to make a difference, and I believe at this point, part of that is I started new work. I don't own my own business, so I'm different from most of you in that regard. But I started working in February, and so many people have been here for 10, 15, 20 years. And I feel like I'm always trying to catch up and connect and get to know the right people so that I can have the right conversations. So part of it is being in a fairly new position, but there's also this, um, as you say, soundtrack that I'm not being productive enough or I'm not making enough of a difference. Um, and that's a little bit connected to some of the things that have already been said.
That's awesome. I mean, not awesome that that's happening to you, but it's awesome that that I think this idea of pivoting is just huge in my head because every time I get into that restriction up until now, You need to change that soundtrack. But thank you, Tamara, for sharing. Faith.
I had really damaging programming. All of the information that was laid out for me as I was growing up was caustic and toxic. And learning how to get past that has been my life's work. And I'm either running, putting out fires, because chaos always seems to be the order of the day, or trying to make peace with the storm of my soul. I was basically led to believe that I have no value. I have no right to be on this earth. I have to try to do everything to placate and please everyone, to just have a right to be alive. And therefore, I've never valued myself, no matter how well I've done on anything, and never thought it had value. Always looked at other people having value and looking for a head nod from them, not even realizing for a long time that that's what I was doing, and don't know how to charge for anything I do because I don't feel I have any value. So that programming is really important. So I made damn sure to do different programming with my children, but they still look at me like, why do you act like you don't have any value? And I don't exactly know how to explain to them how my file drive has been corrupted, and I'm working on it. But anyway, that programming is important. I haven't figured out how to go from ground zero, you're a piece of total turd shit, to thinking I have value. I had the combo of the mentally ill mom and the very strict church upbringing. So it's been, and I love God and I love the Bible, but I don't like that stinking thinking one bit. But not liking it and knowing how to clear that program has been my struggle. I haven't learned how to do that yet. So it's very important. The words you say to people, the words you say to your children are so important. And the words you say to yourself are so important. So what I try to do is I try to catch myself if I'm saying any of those terrible programs, and I just say, stop it. But it's a challenge. It's much better. Put in good. Lay your garden good. It's way easier than digging up the whole garden and putting in good dirt, so you can put in seeds that will grow well. Anyway, sorry, don't have a happy
No,
comment to say about it at all.
don't feel sorry, Faith. We're glad that you're here and that you're able to share with us, because I think that sometimes it takes years of work to, to have to reprogram your mind. So thank you for sharing. LaSchelle, I'll put it back to you.
Thank you. And I loved all of your shares. And it's so interesting. I think the awareness is one of the biggest things. And that's why I wanted to stop and pause and have some time. And I'm grateful that Rini asked everybody to think about it and share something, because it's so important. The other thing too is, except for Marla, who's practically perfect in every way. I'm just teasing you, Marla. But I love you. And oh my gosh, no, I would never guess that you were 75. You could run circles around people that are 30 years younger than you, for heaven's sake. But it's interesting because all of us have this. And in some ways, I think it keeps us humble, but in other ways, it gives us something to actually strive for. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was Tamara. One of the things as you were speaking, I kept thinking too about comparison and how comparison can be so rigorous. And one of the things I've realized is, the only person I should compare myself is to myself and what I was doing yesterday. And am I on track? Am I doing stuff? But when I start comparing myself to other people, it's so interesting. It's kind of like the Facebook and the Instagram. And this is not part of my presentation, but I just feel it's important that we look on Instagram, we look on Facebook, everybody's putting their best out there. And guess what? We're seeing like 1 or 2 minutes of their perfect. And the rest of the day, 23 hours and 58 minutes, they're probably having the same struggles we are, but they're not talking about it because they're showing how pretty and how beautiful. Oh, and did they say that they came and had somebody come do their makeup and their hair, and somebody wrote the script for them and all of that stuff? I mean, some of them do, some of them don't, but I know some of them that they really do. Before they go on, they have like it's hours and hours of preparation, which reminds me of Tony Robbins' quote that is something like this, that we celebrate people for the things that they do in public, but we forget about the hours and hours and hours that went in private to get there, like for athletes and so it's interesting too, because I'm going to tell you, I have spent tens of thousands of dollars, lots of tens of thousands of dollars, because one of my programs was you can't speak. I would get in front of audiences, and like my first time I got in front of an audience, I remember I was 6 years old, put it on there. I was supposed to sing a song. One day I'm going to be on a stage and I'm going to sing my Bantam Hand. I'm not there yet because I can't remember all the words right now, but I cried. I sat there, I froze, I cried. They put me back on stage. I said, I'm not doing this. And I walked off. I'd been practicing for weeks, but nobody told me I was going to be standing in front of all these strangers. And there was probably maybe 10 people in the audience. My sister, my mom, and my other sister were 3 of them. So I knew those, but I was so terrified, and I had been terrified, but what has made me comfortable? So it's funny because the last 3 times I've spoken, I haven't got nerves. And, Rainey, when she asked me last night, I was like, I could say no, but then I said, what if I say yes? And what if I actually go and I just get to practice, or I get to do something? And I had actually done this a while ago, so I couldn't even remember it. So I actually ended up changing the whole thing last night. So basically it's a whole brand new presentation, but so I know, and that's actually the beauty of having this opportunity to present, because if you fluff it, which you probably won't, you're doing it with people who love you or who care, and you're giving value anyway, because every single one of us has value. That's why we were created. And every one of us has different talents and different gifts. And so like Marla, it sounds like is like a sales boom. She could go sell the pants off anyone. I can't do that. But I know a lot of it's up here is my head trash. And my soundtracks that I've got going on, I've got the same soundtrack that Rini has, that I have a hard time charging people for my services. And guess what? I have some amazing, amazing talents and gifts and things that I've paid a lot of money to learn. And I still sometimes, I'm getting better, but like every day in every way, I'm getting better and better, but I still have to work on it. So anyways, I'm going to
Suzanne has her hands up.
Oh,
LaSchelle.
Suzanne, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were talking. No, I think I had put in there, and you know my story, LaSchelle. You and I have been around for a while together. But yeah, up until I found out my whole story, my truth of being autistic, I just knew that my brothers were being treated better, and that was the messaging I received. Your brothers are smarter, your brothers are more athletic, your brothers. So yeah, when you were talking about, you couldn't remember who was talking about comparison. That was my story up until I turned 51. Now I have a whole new story. So that's
and that's the great thing, is that we can every day we get to start over. I can't remember what it was. I was reading something last week, one of my mentors, and they said, and every single time, like we can have a do-over every single minute. So we get to restart our life. And it's interesting because this is coming up. This isn't part of it either. I have a sister who's very married to her story, and people who seem to be married to their story, if you really like the results of that story and how that makes you feel, then have at it, do that. But if you're not loving it, then you need to change your story. And my sister, I said, do you drive? Can you imagine driving using your rearview mirror? The only time we really use rearview mirror, and I don't even do that anymore because I have backup camera on my car, is when I'm backing up. And so if you're looking at your life through the lens of the rearview mirror, and you have the whole thing, the whole vision, the whole beautiful in front of you, and you're looking in the back, Like I have seen some beautiful sunsets that I've taken pictures of that were in my rear view mirror. But most of the time when I'm looking at the rear view mirror, I'm highlighting because it's my brain, and I'm highlighting not the beautiful stuff, but I have all these things I can look forward to. And what about being right here in the present? So for me, it's interesting. And sometimes I'll be like, LaSchelle, are you driving look through the rear view mirror? And sometimes I am. So I am going to cut through a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm not even sure where it is, just a second, because I want to share, because I know we're getting really short for this. So lucky for us, we actually have, I'm trying to move that out of the way. We actually have neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is the power to physically change our brains by changing our thoughts. And I've actually seen videos where it actually, when you're changing your thoughts, the neurons actually unhook, and they can cause brand new neurons to form, which can help us change what the soundtrack is going on in our brain. And it's super, super important. And we know sometimes turning off a broken soundtrack can be hard, but it's so powerful. So 3 actions to change your thoughts into superpower is retire your broken thoughts, replace them with new ones, and repeat them until they're automatic as the old ones. I'm just gonna, let's see. I don't know if this will play or not. Let's see if it will.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. Oh, that's so good.
And remember that you is kind, you is smart, you is important. Each one of us gets to be a superwoman or superhero in our life. And so we can turn down the dial. And some people think it's like an on-off switch, but it's actually kind of a continuum. So think about it as when you're tuning in, you can turn up the volume on the positive, or you can turn down the negative ones. So some of the ways that you can turn down the dial when you have a broken thought, when it gets too loud, some of the ideas that he said was going out for a run, and I'm going to go really fast, getting a Lego set out and doing something creative, creating a list. It's the fastest way to bring clarity to chaos. Sometimes we have so many things. Here's some of his favorite minor tasks with massive payoff: putting the laundry away, going to the mailbox, raking the yard, cleaning your desk, taking things off the stairs and putting them away. Do something that you can actually finish. And then some other ones that he suggested was going out, like calling a friend, having a coffee with them, going for a drive, like where you're just driving slow on a beautiful highway and just appreciating nature, taking your dog out for a walk. One of my favorites, taking a nap. It's like a recharge. Writing a thank you note. And it's so funny. I'm doing a calligraphy class to keep myself creative. And it's been really fun to be able to send beautiful thank yous to people. And because it takes a whole lot longer than just scribbling it out. Doing puzzles, which because it's putting like 1 or 2 pieces in at a time. So some of the things that we can do, and these are some affirmations that John had said. He actually he went through and did a list of, he had a whole bunch of people in this study. And so he did a list of different things that were affirmations. And these are some of the ones he asked all these different people. And these were some of the ones that bubbled up almost all the time. So when you don't choose a soundtrack to listen to, the music doesn't stop. You just listen to a bunch of songs you don't like. So you're better at picking out great thoughts to listen to than your feelings are. So remember that when you're in charge, and because I know one of my coaches is like, do not make a decision on feeling. Like if you need to feel it, there's a problem, because feelings are not always reliable. So start your playlist with someone else's song. So these are someone else's song. So today is a brand new, and tomorrow is too. I've got gifts worth giving. The only person standing my way is me. And I quit doing that yesterday. And for me, I quit doing that November 22nd, 2022, because I know exactly what day I was when I made that decision. I am the CEO of me, and I'm my best boss, which is funny because John tells a story about himself when he was not being his best boss. And he was like, I was I had to go to the bathroom, and my boss was like yelling at me because I had to go to the bathroom. And then he revealed that his boss was himself. And that sometimes, especially as entrepreneurs, we can sometimes be really hard on ourselves because we're like, oh, I've got to do this. I've got to get this contract out. I've got to do this networking. I've got to do, all these got to do's, but we have to live too. So winning is contagious. And when I help others win, I win too. Feeling uncomfortable is just a sign that my old comfort zone is having a hard time keeping up with me. And I love that because one of my values is living. I choose to live uncomfortably because I know when I'm in the uncomfortable zone, I'm growing. Momentum is messy. Everything is always working out for me. I'm my own biggest fan. And the best response to obstacles is do it anyway. So one of the things he has in his book, which was really powerful, and I did this last year, and I've done it twice now, is a 30-day challenge. So in the 30-day challenge, he has very specific pieces that he outlines, and that those affirmations were part of it. So I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and write down some positive affirmations. And what he makes you do is makes you do it twice a day. And I did it right when I woke up first thing, and right when I went to bed. And I had to look myself in the eye. And there were days I did not want to look at myself in the eye. And there were days I didn't want to say it. But guess what? I did it anyway. And according to research, the research that he did along with this, that the positive affirmations decreased overthinking, and by 250%. So if people did it at least 20 times out of the 60 times. So that's not much. But even doing it more, it actually increased it. So if you stood in front of the mirror and you recited your affirmations and mantras at least 20 times, you're more than 2.5 times more likely to have less overthinking. And if the participants who repeated 20 or more soundtracks were 46% more likely to decrease overthinking than those who only repeated 5 or fewer. So dig in. And I actually kept adding ones to my list, and it was kind of fun. The next thing is increase your productivity by decreasing your overthinking. And the last one, and I know I have only 3 minutes. The last one is decreasing overthinking raises your success rate for goals. Because I want to play this one, and I don't know if it's going to work or not because my computer, here we go.
To be than myself.
There's no one better to be than ourselves.
Today's gonna be an amazing
day. Today's gonna be an amazing day.
Feelings matter.
My feelings matter. Today's gonna be an amazing day. Then they're here to play all day. Be strong. Be great. It's okay to make a mistake. Be happy. Be glad. Don't let nothing make you sad. Be nice. Be kind. Tell you have a wonderful mind. Be positive, be happy. Be positive, be happy. Be positive, be happy.
Good morning.
Okay, so I'm just going to close it there. I had a few more things, but just be positive and be happy. And I know that I'll actually put that one into the chat because I think it's really funny. And if you're having a bad day, just pull it out and play it. Because I was playing it last night as I was doing this. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep her little thing. And I'm like, maybe I need to dance more when I'm doing them because she looks really cute. Yeah. Be positive, be happy. An amazing day. So anyways, I just hope that that was helpful for some. Joey, I see you raised your hand.
Yes, quickly, I just want to add that in our experience, the affirmations aren't really enough, although it's a good start. But we may want to research on subliminal programming. If you know Dr. Bruce Lipton, he was the one who said that no matter how much we try to be positive, do affirmations and all these other things that we do during our waking hours, when we sleep, our subconscious will get back to the programming that we had when we were kids growing up. So yes, it might help that we're doing affirmations, but please research also on subliminal programming because that's what we really wanted to do is reprogram our brain. Reprogramming, and there are a lot of gurus that teach about this. But yes, again, affirmations is a good start.
Well, and Joey, you actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to talk about Bruce but I had to cut my stuff short. But because one of the things too is knowing about the different waves of our brains. And actually, my mom taught me when I was a little kid. My sister, when she was trying to memorize her thing for her piece to get on stage, she actually played it over and over again. And our voices are one of the most powerful things to program ourselves. And so actually one of the things I did, Joey, is to actually recite those, and I play them in a loop over and over again at night. So when you're in your theta state, it actually goes in and it's actually seeping into your subconscious. So thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. This has been such a wonderful session, LaSchelle. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you. I love that little girl. I'm going to, that YouTube, to find that, making it into a rap. So you have this memorized. But you guys, this has been such an amazing session. And LaSchelle, I can't believe you just, she took the opportunity. She stepped up. She pivot. I think that the word pivoting is so important. And thank you so much again, everyone, for your
I just put the videos into the chat.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great week. Let's unmute and say thank you to LaSchelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, LaSchelle.
Michelle will talk.
Yeah, next week I'll be going to Pittsburgh. I'll be traveling. It's funny because LaSchelle is going to Pittsburgh too. We weren't going together, but that's where my husband was born, and we're going there to see his son. His son lives in Ohio, so he and his wife's gonna drive. But anyway, we're just gonna have fun, go to Kennywood, and go watch the Steelers game. And so Tony Taylor will be presenting, and it will be using her link, her Zoom link, but I will post it on the Facebook chat and Facebook group. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, all.
Bye.
Thanks. All right, that was great. Appreciate you.